you want to make more money. So you go to the marketing people and you say, get me more leads. But do you really need more leads? You're going to want to stick around for the answer to that.
This is the Franchise Pitfalls and Profit Show. Each week, we bring you the challenges and triumphs of being in the franchise development and consulting business. The things you need to make money faster. And now your host, one of the most successful franchise developers in North America, Don Schin.
You know, I've been in sales most of my corporate career, even in sales management, and other than when I was in executives for large companies. And one of the battles has always been sales saying, I need more leads, marketing saying, what are you doing with the ones that I'm giving you? And there's some truth in between both of those things. So what we're going to talk about today is how to reach more leads. And also when you have them in the process, how to keep them in your process longer, or in other words, have them stop ghosting you, have them stop showing up for your calls. So we're going to address both of those things today. You're going to want to stick around to the end, and you're going to want to take good notes, because the reality is you can do more with the leads you are getting, even if they're marginal quality. So that's where we're really going to start now, is to reach more leads. So are your leads hard? Are your new leads hard to get in touch with? Are they elusive? Are they not showing up? We're going to talk about why, and then we're going to talk about how you can do better with them. And then secondly, are your candidates, have they stopped returning your calls? That's what I call ghosting. And we want to talk about some of the reasons for that, as well as, again, things you can do. So how can you get through to more leads? Let's start with why aren't they responding? One of the things is to remember is that what is your lead source? This is one of the things we talk about in Franchise Sales Accelerator, the course for franchise development and franchise sales. Of the 13 strategies in my course, you're going to find out that they all have different conversion rates. Some of them are high volume of leads, but probably what we would call tire kickers, and we would call them low quality leads because they're really not that interested. But you need some of those lead generating strategies. Some will be very high quality, but they're going to be low volume. I've never seen a franchise, and I've seen very, very few franchise brokers or consultants who can build a business on a single source and hope that that's, or try to build it on purely a high quality, quote unquote, high quality lead source. So what's your lead source? Recognize quickly. And I teach this in Franchise Sales Accelerator, fsacourse.com. I teach the 13 different strategies and the conversion rates that you're going to be reasonably possible for each one of those. The second thing to realizing when you're reaching out to leads is that early in your process with them, they have a life. Because they've requested information doesn't mean you're the most important thing to them at that time. Now, as you move them through your process, as time goes along, as they get more information and as they get more excited about your franchise opportunity, yes, they should be more engaged. Yes, they should be plugged in. Yes, they should be showing up regularly. But the reality is, in the early stages, people have a life, and you've got to recognize you calling them is not their priority. And then a third reason this is happening is the reality is that some people and some lead sources, even when they ask for information, they click on that mouse, they are still really just looking. And we have to recognize we have to do something to get them more interested. We have to do something that's going to pull them in. We're going to do something that some call in this industry the hook. But recognize, again, as you're trying to reach them, recognize that many of them were just looking. So what do we do? What's the solution? Well, one of the things that one of my companies over the years, when I had an appointment setting company, took us 6 to 8 months, but we developed a proprietary 8-touch system, 8 or 9, but we used to call it the 8-touch system. And it's pretty straightforward. And if you are using a CRM, you can build this into your CRM. In fact, there are some CRMs now that, unbeknownst to us, have developed an 8 to 10 touch system. And we're talking to those folks about working more closely together because they have automated what we have developed several years ago. So if you want to respond immediately, I was at the 2023 IFA convention, International Franchise Association convention, and speed to lead was one of the key takeaways for any of the presentations that were talking about lead generation and franchise development. So speed to lead is important. So you want to respond immediately. Again, if you can automate this through your CRM, it will do it automatically. You'll set up your CRM system that the leads will go into your system automatically and your system will respond automatically. You want to use multiple methods, and our philosophy was 8, or now it just makes it easier, 3 touches every business day. Some people even do this on the weekend. So 8 or 9 touches in 72 hours. So the day you receive the lead, I would absolutely get them some kind of an automated response or a quick email. I'd love to call them as soon as I get a lead and then also leave a voicemail. After this, your blend of phone calls, texts, or emails can vary. That's fine. But the key is trying to get to them quickly. My belief is that after 3 or maybe 4 days, if you have not reached them, you might as well just put them into a drip system and let your regular marketing touches take over. They will come back. You did pay money in one way or another. You did pay money to get a lead. So it is not a total loss, but recognize if you don't get a hold of them in 3 to 4 days, chances are you're not going to reach them. They've almost already forgotten why they responded or where they responded or how they responded to you, looking for information about your opportunity or your services. You can leave a final message. I call it the special message. I call it the closure file message. And it simply goes something like this. Hey, Bob, you had requested information. I'm doing a one last circle back around, one last touch to try to reach you to provide the information that you requested. I understand, Bob, that things do change. Circumstances change. People's interests change. So if this is no longer for you, that's fine. I understand, and I wish you well. But if I don't hear from you by Friday, I'm going to close your file and just assume that you've moved on to something else. And again, I wish you well. People who are interested don't want that abrupt close. Don't want their file closed. They are interested. Something just hiccuped, or they didn't realize you're calling about what they were interested in. So you can leave a final message like that either by phone or you can email it. But sometimes that will bring the genuinely interested people back into your process, if you will. Now I want to talk about reducing the candidate ghosting. By the way, doing the 8-touch or the 9-touch system improved our conversion rates. My callers who were professionally trained to reach people and to set appointments, their regular contact rate before this system was somewhere between 45 and 50%. My best callers were 50, 55, but the majority of the callers were somewhere around 45% connection rate, reach rate. Our 8-touch process back in those days increased our averages to somewhere between 65 to 75%. So our performance, our reach rate went up 50%. So you do your math. How many leads do you get? If you could get in touch with 50% more of your leads, what would that mean to your pipeline? What would that mean to your sales? You do the math. Now we want to talk about candidates in your process and why are they not showing up? What is happening and what can you do about it? So why is it happening? Well, what we have seen for many years now, probably 6, 8 years, maybe longer, a general tendency that courtesies, professional courtesies, business courtesies have gone out the window in general, but particularly if someone perceives that you are a salesperson. So if you're working for a franchisor, you're in franchise development, you're selling franchises, you're going to deal with this. If you're one of our audience that is a broker, a consultant, you want to project that you're not in sales, you are a trusted advisor. And so you want to change the playing field on them to let them know that you are not a salesperson. So it just depends on what your position is, why you're watching. But again, the general lack of professionalism, lack of general and business courtesies toward anyone that's perceived to be sales, that's what's contributing to people not showing up for you. But the second one, which I think is very, very important, and we can control this, you can control this, and that is that you need to provide value. Part of the reasons why you've worked with somebody for weeks and then suddenly they're not showing up, they're not feeling that you're giving them value anymore. They feel like you're just checking in. They feel like you don't have more information that they need. They don't feel like your expertise is of need to them, is of value to them. And so, when you talk about, hey, I just want to have a check-in call with you on Friday, hey, the reality is that doesn't bring them any value at all. So you've got to realize, and you've got to insert in your processes and in your positioning and in your conversations and your explanation and your scripts, if you will, you've got to project value. So how do we do some of these things? One thing is your positioning up front. You want to establish professionalism. You want to, in your first or maybe second call, you want to talk about, hey, Bob, I'm going to show up for all of my calls. I'm going to be on time. I'm going to provide the information and the things from call to call that I tell you I'm going to provide. Can I ask you to do the same? Can I ask your commitment to being on time and showing up and doing the things that you agreed with me that you're going to do, like filling out a form or watching videos, whatever it might be? Is it okay if we have that kind of a relationship? Some form of conversation like that up front is going to help you down the road. Be sure that they are showing up. Again, not 100% guaranteed it always works, but it's really going to help you on this point. No more check-in calls. I mentioned that just a second ago. A check-in call is all about you. A check-in call is all about you making the sale, getting a temperature check, doing a pre-close, if you will. That brings the candidate no value at all. So you need to eliminate them. You need to have a clear purpose for every call that you have. Clear purpose. And so it might be I'm going to be providing you the FDD. I'm going to have a explanation of the FDD to you. I'm going to help you get the most out of your validation calls before you go to validation. I'm going to talk about funding and help introduce you to funding partners. Have a clear purpose for every call, and I promise you, your ghosting will go down. Your show up ratios from call to call will really dramatically increase. Another simple one, and I am just shocked at how many people in this business don't do this, but schedule the next call before you end the one that you're on. And because, this process in franchise development is usually going to be somewhere between 70 and 90 and maybe 100, 120 days. Let's just say roughly it's going to be about 90 days. And you're normally going to have 6, 8, 10, almost once a week calls, maybe 10 calls over that time frame. If every time you do not set up the call on each one of those calls before the call ends, you are adding 2 to sometimes 5 business days each time. So literally, you will add 3 to 4 weeks to your whole process before you get a decision, before you have a contract and monies and so on. And time kills deals. Any of you who have been in this business for more than 6 hours understands that time kills deals. And here, a simple thing that you can do all the time regularly would eliminate probably 3 to 4 weeks in your sales process. Also think about how many people can you talk to over the course of months and a year. If you do this with every one of your prospects, you are missing out on probably a sale or maybe 2 sales a year just on this one thing that you can do and control. So schedule the next call before you end the call you're on. And then lastly, explain your process. I think a lot of the reason us down the line, down the road, is they don't really know what's coming, or they're fearful. Sometimes they may do a call or two with you and then not show up. I hear this from franchise consultants, brokers all the time. Wow, I did all of this work and I had a really good meeting with them, and then they stop talking to me. They stop returning my calls. They won't set up the next call. And I think it's because in that case, there's some anxiety, there's some overwhelming feelings, and so they just don't come back to you. They don't want to go forward with the process. If you explain your process, again, in that first or maybe second calls, you tell them all the things you're going to do with them. You tell them all the value that you bring to them. You share with them and expose to them. You give them a real look at what buying a franchise means. I will tell you, this is a major step towards people staying in the process with you, because their guards go down, our anxiety levels lower, their fear is reduced. So explain your process early on when you're meeting them, and I guarantee you it's going to affect their show up ratio. Keeping people in your process longer as well is having that sales process that you explain, early positioning about fear, as well as explaining your system, as well as talking about that professionalism and showing up and getting their commitment to show up. Early positioning, if you will, about fear is going to be very important, because fear is one of the big deal killers, one of the big 3 deal killers. So if you share with them that they're going to have fear, if you give them permission to be fearful, that kind of positioning early on is very good, because if you wait till later in your sales process when you're seeing them being fearful, if you introduce it, then you automatically become the salesperson just trying to sell them something. That's exactly what I was afraid of. This guy's just going to try to sell me something. But that early positioning, and then later the conversation about the fear and walking them through the fear, or talking them off the ledge, so to speak, will absolutely be critical, again, to helping you reduce your ghosting, if you will. So that's it, folks. That's what I wanted to share. Again, you want to increase the number of people that you get in touch with. You want to reduce the ghosting. These are awesome, awesome resources, techniques, and things that you can do to make a difference in your sales performance.